Hi scholars, Mrs. Secret here, and we have a new book for you tonight. It is called Mr. Ferris and His Wheel. This book was written by Catherine Gibbs Davis and illustrated by Gilbert Ford. All right, let's see what this story is all about. It was only 10 months until the next World's Fair, but everyone was still talking about the star attraction of the last World's Fair. At 81 stories, France's Eiffel Tower was the world's tallest building. Its pointy iron and air tower soared so high that visitors to the top could see Paris in one breathtaking sweep. Pretty amazing, right? Now, it was America's turn to impress the world at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. But what could outshine the famous French Tower? And who would build it? A nationwide contest was announced. Ooh, interesting. Contest drawings poured in from around the country, but most of the plans looked like the Eiffel Tower, only bigger. The fair judges said no to every last one. Was this really the best that American engineers could muster? To an ambitious young mechanical engineer, this contest was more than a dare. It was a matter of national pride. George Washington Gale Ferris Jr. had already designed some of the country's biggest bridges, tunnels, and roads. He could never allow a French tower to overshadow America's World's Fair. Why hadn't the United States built the world's first skyscraper? George had seen the elegant steel frame rise 10 stories high with his own eyes. George had an idea for a structure that would dazzle and move, not just stand still like the Eiffel Tower. Back at his drawing board in Pittsburgh, he and his engineering partner William Greenough measured and remeasured. A mistake of even an inch could bring their invention crashing down. George arrived in Chicago and made his case to the construction chief of the fair. The chief stared at George's drawings. No one had ever created a fair attraction that huge and complicated. The chief told George that his structure was so flimsy it would collapse. George had heard enough. He rolled up his drawings and said, "You are an architect, sir. I am an engineer." George knew something the chief did not. His invention would be delicate, looking, and strong. It would be both stronger and lighter than the Eiffel Tower because it would be built with an amazing new metal, steel. Sorry. The judges could not decide. Fall turned to winter as they dilly-dallied. In only 4 months the fair would open, and it still had no star attraction. Finally desperate, they agreed to give George's far-fetched idea a try, but they would not give him 1 penny for the materials to build it. The clock was ticking. George dashed from bank to bank, asking for help. But when he began describing his invention, lenders laughed him to the street. So George used his own savings and convinced a few wealthy investors to join him. Still short of money, he boldly went ahead and ordered the parts he needed from a dozen different steel mills. In January 1893, George's construction crew began work on the foundation. Shovels broke as the workers tried digging into the frozen ground. It was one of the most brutally cold winters in Chicago's history. Blast! George ordered his crew to dynamite the icy earth. But what they found underneath was scarier still: quicksand. The deadly muck could suck a man or machine under in seconds. George and his brave workers kept frantically digging. Finally, 35 feet down, they hit solid ground. They planted 2 huge steel towers deep into the earth, bolted them to the crossbars of steel, and poured in cement to hold it all in place. Then they carefully lowered a 70-ton axle with fittings, the weight of a mogul locomotive train, between them. This sturdy structure would hold the gigantic invention steady in even the strongest Chicago winds. As time grew shorter, freight trains from all over the country chugged onto the fairgrounds, loaded with more than 100,000 parts. Workers hurried to fit all the pieces together like a giant Lego toy. Hammers pounded nonstop in the breathless race to finish. Responsible for the wheel's many structural details, George's partner was losing hope. You can see everyone talking. It's undignified. Stand back, dear. It might collapse. Bet you the wind will blow the Ferris's folly into the lake. Nope, it'll fall first. It's going up way too fast. They say Ferris has wheels in his head. Lots of critics there, huh? Finally, with only 2 months left, the last section was bolted into place. And there stood a perfect, enormous circle, 834 feet in circumference, rising 265 feet above the ground, and designed to move with the precision of the smallest watch. It looked exactly how George had first imagined it back as a boy on his ranch in Nevada. Look at that Ferris wheel. Still, the biggest test was yet to come. The monster wheel had to spin, and George's elegant passenger cars still had to be hung. The tireless crew worked day and night to attach them. Each was the size of a living room, with enormous picture windows and 40 velvet seats. On June 21st, 1893, opening day finally arrived. 2,000 people gathered as flags waved. George took the stage and dedicated his wheel to the noble profession of engineering. Then George's wife presented him with a beautiful golden whistle. George and his wife stepped proudly into car number 1, followed by their nervous but excited guests. Uniformed guards closed and locked the door. Would the wheel work? George blew the golden whistle. 2,000 tons of steel began to turn around as the soft clanking of a large chain drove the mighty machine up, up, up. The car quietly floated above the mud and the noise. As the car was lifted higher, everyone rose from the velvet seats and crowded to the windows. Spread out below them was a dizzying sweep of the fairgrounds, the city of Chicago, and sparkling Lake Michigan, and even glimpses of 3 faraway states. Below, more cars were loaded, and after the people had gone 2 times around and had 20 glorious airborne minutes in motion, powerful brakes brought the wheel to a whisper-soft stop. When the conductor called, "All out," everyone begged to go again. The wheel is safe. The news raced through the fairgrounds, through the city of Chicago, and across the country. All summer, visitors from around the world traveled to Chicago's World's Fair. It didn't matter whether one was a senator, a farmer, a boy, or a girl. Everyone wanted to take a spin on the magnificent wheel. Adventurous couples asked to get married on it. On hot, steamy days, the wheel was the perfect place to escape up, up, up into the cooling breezes. All you needed was 50 cents. At night, George's Ferris wheel became a magical, glowing circle with 3,000 electric light bulbs, another brand new invention. As the Queen of the Midway made its stately rotation, so did the seasons. Soon a fall chill filled the air, and fair visitors began to thin out. On October 26, 1893, just before midnight, the immense, twinkling, spinning circle slowed to its final stop. The Chicago World's Fair was over. George had called his creation a monster wheel, but his investors renamed it after its inventor, the Ferris wheel. Visitors returned to their homes to tell the story of the world's greatest ride. And before long, copies of the Ferris wheel began popping up around the world. In 1894, the next Ferris wheel appeared in California on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Lit up at night, it was the first landmark seen by ships finding their way home. Today, Ferris wheels are the most familiar and beloved carnival ride at state fairs and amusement parks. A ride on one still feels like flying to the moon. And oh, 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 the view. The end. And look, there's a picture of Mr. Ferris himself. What an awesome story. I didn't know where the Ferris wheel came from, so I learned something new today. I hope you did too. I hope you have a wonderful night, and we will see you tomorrow, scholars. Bye.